everyone, and welcome back to the Sales Insights with Sarah podcast. I am delighted today to have a very special guest with me, Matt Soltys, who is a serial entrepreneur involved with all things money, real estate, and technology. So I think we're going to have an amazing conversation today, Matt, and thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me, Sarah. Really excited about the conversation we're going to have, and excited to really connect with your audience too on this platform.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back a little while, and I'm going to talk about how we first met. There's a wee story in that as well. So I first met Matt in June last year, and we met because Matt was speaking at ClimbCon in London, and I was in London for the week at a renewable energy event, and had been speaking to the guys at Climb Online and decided to come along. And it was an amazing event. And you were sharing a stage with some incredible people like Lord Sugar, Piers Morgan, Robin Deller, Mark Wright. It was some event. And your keynote was fantastic. You just had me absolutely mesmerized listening.
Oh, wow.
And we had a conversation afterwards, I think at the dinner in the evening, all around selling with purpose, and realized it was something we were both really passionate about. So as soon as I knew that I was going to launch this podcast, I was like, I need to get that conversation on here. I want to have this conversation and share it with the world, because I just think it's something we're so passionate about, and I think more people need to think about it. So thank you so much for joining me.
So good to be here, Sarah, and I think that's why we connected at the start. It was all around energy, and I think that's where we'll no doubt take the conversation today, is how sales is really that transference of feeling that we have with like-minded people, and I know that you and I, we shared that connection at ClimbCon last year, which was, an incredible event, some amazing people there, and even the audience, it was top class to have people like you there. I mean, you traveled down from Scotland, obviously, to be there and be around those people, but the collective energy was so powerful at that event. So it's amazing to continue the conversation here.
Absolutely. So for everyone that's listening, Matt, that doesn't already know you, are you happy just to give us a little bit about your background and I guess how you got to where you are today?
For sure. So for those who don't know me, I'm Matt Soltys, founder of Thrive Assets. And, my journey really began when I was growing up, and I realized that ultimately my parents didn't have a lot of money. I'm sure a lot of people on here, listening in, will perhaps relate to not having a lot of money growing up. And for me, I always wanted to have more freedom, more choices, more ability to help support my parents who were working so hard for me. And so I went on a journey of really from a young age, wanting to learn about how to create wealth, how to really create income, how to create financial freedom. What was it that the super successful, the super wealthy knew that I didn't? Because I knew there was some information gap there. So to be honest with you, traditional education, I was a workhorse. I worked so hard, and I did get decent grades and all the rest of it, but it wasn't my natural, it wasn't a natural fit for me. Academia, I did struggle. When I went to university, I failed a couple of exams. But I did graduate with a 2-1 in civil engineering because I thought I wanted to learn how to be a property investor, and civil engineering would be a path to learning how to be that property investor. But unfortunately, as I found, traditional education taught me nothing about creating a business, about how to start a business, how to be profitable, how to generate cash flows, and how to really invest, how to create multiple streams of income, but also how to really grow wealth in my life. So I decided from that point to really go on a journey into the city of London. I went into investment banking as a graduate, did all the 100+ hour weeks in the city of London, working for the Canadian bank, RBC Capital Markets, in their infrastructure and real estate investment team. So that really gave me exposure to working on higher level transactions. And also that was my first exposure to sales, which I know is where we're taking the conversation to today. That was really, in investment banking, you are a salesperson. You're trying to sell people on a vision of how you can grow and how you can acquire other companies, how maybe a merger can help you reach that next level of growth in your audience. And then from there onwards, I went into private equity, worked for an investment fund for a few years. And then, at the age of 25, I basically decided, right, now I'm going to go out and do my thing. I've found the power of personal development, got immersed in some information, and I was like, right, I feel like I've learned what I can in this field. Let's go and apply it in the real world, and let's go start a business. And so that's really what happened for me. And in 2016 actually, I founded Thrive Assets, October 2016, and really had one mission at my heart, and that was to accelerate our transition to an upgraded life. And ever since then, my mission every single day when I wake up, every morning, has been the same thing. So that's really the heart that I start from every single day, is how can I help accelerate our transition to an upgraded life today? And every single opportunity, everything that comes into my sphere of influence, it's got to fit into that core mission of mine. And that's really where I am today, growing a real estate portfolio within Thrive Assets. I provide upgraded accommodation for young professionals, millennials, around Cardiff and other areas of the UK. And I also help conscious entrepreneurs to build wealth and bring people together to collaborate, to partner up, and really create that referral network that can hopefully grow all of our businesses together. So that's a bit more about me and where I am today.
Love it. That's amazing. Awesome story. And you've been, for your age, you've achieved so many things already. And going back to that network, the people that you've managed to connect with and that you're now working with, I'm just remembering back to when we first met, you had just finished the 10X UK tour with Grant Cardone, which I think was at London and Glasgow.
Yeah, so we had 3 events actually. Had London, Cardiff, and Glasgow. But yeah, it's funny you mention on this, because that wasn't something that happened overnight. I found Grant's message whilst I was still working in the city of London, and that was when I found the power of sales, the power of actually everyone's a salesperson. We just don't believe it yet because we haven't tapped into maybe our purpose. And so Grant was really the one who woke me up to sales, and sales as a positive force for good, not as something that you do for yourself. It is something that you do for others. And so, yeah, absolutely. I had a dream, about 4 to 5 years before the events with Grant, to bring him to the UK and help expand his message. He didn't even know me at the time. I just had that spark of inspiration. So, if you have that dream, we just never know where it can take us.
Yeah, I think once you get to that point where you understand your own purpose, it's so obvious when you're in those events and you're in those networks, you almost can handpick out the people that are absolutely aligned with their own purpose and what they're doing in business, and it just shines through them. And at ClimbCon, where we met, there was so many people in that room that I had that feeling about, that I'm now connected with, and even doing business with some of them now, and creating that, I guess support is a support network initially. Sometimes business comes from it, sometimes it doesn't. It's just great to have people in your network that are going through similar challenges and I guess similar successes to what you are, and are excited and passionate about the same things. So do you feel like when you're at these events that it's quite easy to, I guess, pick out those individuals?
It's a good question. I think for me, it's about that energy and the connection of like-minded people. It's real. When you're connected to your purpose and your passion, there's no denying it. It penetrates all walls, And so for me, when I'm connected to my purpose and my energies, right, and I know that I'm accelerating our transition to an upgraded life, right, I'm connected to my mission. Yeah. I know that from that place, for sure, I'm going to start having coincidences, having people that I want to gravitate towards, that I feel their energy, that I know that I need to be around. And that's really, we've got to lean into that, our intuition. It's not easy. When we're starting out in business, we're always trying to figure it out. And I'm still trying to figure it out now, for sure. And I'll never have it all figured out. It's a constant journey of learning and development and personal growth and expression. And that's the brilliant thing about being an entrepreneur, is it's the greatest self-discovery process on planet Earth, with the highest compensation plan attached to it. Right? It's an incredible journey to be on. And I think that one of the great things we pick up on over time is just how in the right environments, the right people will connect. And I do believe that life happens for me, not to me. So when I'm in an audience like that, I'm always trying to figure out, right, who is it that I really connect with here? And it's never about how many connections do people have. You know, there's a lot of, rather than focusing on the number of followers, the number of likes, the number of connections that maybe we have on social media and all the rest of it, why don't we go deep? Why don't we go on depth of connection that we have with the people that we know, like, and trust, and that we share like-minded purpose with? I think it's so, so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think if you can find that, you know, everything you do just becomes even more enjoyable, because it's not just that you found your purpose and you're enjoying, you know, your role, but you're watching other people succeed, and you start getting excited about their journeys, when you know that they're in it for the right reasons, especially.
That's
So
totally right. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
I think
just
a
to
lot
touch
of
on,
people struggle. Oh, sorry.
go on, Sarah.
I think a lot of people struggle to know what their purpose is. It's a
Good.
conversation I have all the time. So for you, do you have any, I guess, process that you take people through to find their purpose if they haven't already?
Yeah, I do. And I'm glad that you touched on that point, because I completely agree. I believe that 99.9% of the planet, most likely, is not really woken up to their purpose. I mean, if you go and ask someone in the street, a stranger in the street, hey, what's your purpose? They're going to look at you like, what have you just asked? Have you come from a different planet?
Yeah.
Right? And so really, one of my core things is, how can we raise human consciousness and connect to our purpose? And I think for me, one of the biggest things is actually being aware of what it is that we actually enjoy and have natural curiosity about. So what I say to people is this, is if you don't know your purpose yet, you have to go back to a process, structure, and routine to find it. Because just sitting there meditating and just sitting there without a plan of action, you're not going to find it, and you're going to keep using that as an excuse for not taking action. And that was me in the past. Okay, I thought, oh, maybe it'll come to me. It doesn't come to you. It comes to you when we tap into and give ourselves permission to discover the curiosities that we have. Too often, we are denying, I believe, the things that we actually enjoy and like doing. We're denying ourselves because we are living in a script, which is we have to work a 9 to 5, trade our time for money, and save for retirement. And then maybe when we're 65, we have a bit of cash in the bank and we can enjoy ourselves. When all our health's gone, and when we've got no time left, all our life's passed, and we've got all these other issues to focus on. I'm like, well, why not just live your life today by tapping into your purpose? So the way that I look at it is this. I say to people, imagine you were stuck in a library for 30 days and there was nothing that you could do other than read books, but you had any book on any topic available to you. What would be your top 25 topics to explore? And be as specific as you possibly can. So write down all your natural curiosities. If you were just investing in your own education effectively for a month and you were stuck in a library, maybe you had some food and water, but you just got books around you, what is it that you would naturally gravitate towards? What would capture your imagination? Because so often we're just too busy doing, that we're not actually thinking, actually hold on a minute, what am I curious about? And so then when we've got a list of 25 things, here's where the power comes of purpose. I say, right, write that list into 3 columns side by side. Get the same list repeated 3 columns. So you've got a list of 25 things. So over 2 dozen things, 25 in the middle, and they're the same 25 things, being as specific as we can. This is then where we find the ferocious power within us. The purpose is by trying to link things together, because it makes it even more specific. So for me, real estate, money, and technology, I get really energized by the intersection of those 3 things and how we can upgrade the skills of people to raise financial consciousness around the world. That's the thing for me that really lights me up, where the world's going with investing and with financial literacy, because I believe it's a massive, massive problem in the world right now. And unfortunately, the rich are getting richer, the poor and the middle class are all getting poorer. And it's only going to expand over the next few years with what I believe is about to happen. So that's the process that I go through. And then I say, right, link the 3 columns together where you see an intersection of things that maybe you could tie together. So I don't know, maybe you're somebody who loves sport, but you also love performance supplements, for example. Maybe you love sport, and maybe you've got a passion for performance-based supplements, and maybe you also have a passion, I don't know, for something like recovery routines when it comes to training. Maybe you're a personal trainer and you're all about recovery routines. I'd be looking at how can I tie those three things together to something specific that I can explore further. And then I'd write down all of these things in a list, all of the little links that I see, if it's 2 to 3 things. And then it's about going deeper on those curiosities for a few weeks. Give yourself permission to actually read, watch videos on YouTube, educate yourself. And what will happen is we'll be like, okay, this feels good. This lights me up. You know, I really enjoy this. And that's really the process that I suggest to people. When we line up our core curiosities and we give ourselves permission to think, you know, there's that saying that all of man's problems could be solved if man had the ability to sit quiet in a room alone. And so I think that's what comes with purpose, is it's about giving ourselves permission to do that and to go through a process like that to awaken the inner drive in us.
I love what you say about the link, Matt, because a lot of people feel like they found their purpose and then they start getting interested in something else over here, maybe another business opportunity. And they go, well, that doesn't align with this. But you're right. Your purpose is like, I see it like a web, you know, where there's lots of things within that, but they all come to a center. They all come to a core, and that is the purpose. And I think some people really struggle to get their head around that. And I know it's something I struggled with initially when I first left nursing and came into business. You know, my purpose had always been, I want to help people, you know, I want to, you know, help them overcome pain, overcome, you know, the challenges they're going through. And it was very hands-on and physical support. There was a bit of emotional, obviously, as well. And when I had to leave nursing in 2011 and come into the business world, I felt like I'd lost my purpose. I felt like I wasn't going to be able to fulfill that purpose. And then I started to, you know, I guess, open my eyes and just open my mind to realizing that to help people, you don't need to be nursing them. You know, there's so many ways to help people, and the challenges that people need to overcome and the pain that they're in is not always physical. It's not always medical, you know, and that's why, you know, I've ended up coming to where I am today. You know, I was employed. It took me a few years to figure that out. And then like you, it was 2015, I decided I'm going to set up my own business. And one of the main drivers for that was because as an employee, I could help people. But as my own business, I could help more people. And that was one of the main drivers. And then really just taking control of my own life and feeling free. So yes, I'm still busy. Yes, I work crazy hours. Yes, there's a lot of pressure, but I am choosing to do that. And that gives you a freedom that I think, like you spoke before, when you're in the rat race of employment, and employment's not negative, but it's when you're employed doing something that doesn't align with your purpose, something that you're passionate about.
That's it.
And then you know, the goal is, you know, work to 65 and then have a life. Whereas if you can become employed in something that aligns with that purpose, or do something yourself, if that's what it takes, then it gives you this freedom in life that is amazing. And I'm so glad that we both found that in our 20s, because I think a lot of people, you know, find it much later on in life.
I fully agree with you, Sarah. I think this is one of the big challenges we have, is that unfortunately people they allow the time to pass, and time's the most finite asset that we have. And I think that's one of the big things for me. You know, I lost my younger brother when I was growing up. At 3 years old, my younger brother, Jack, he passed away at 6 months old with sudden meningitis, literally overnight. 0 symptoms, just overnight, that was it. And that whole event in my life, I look back on it now, and he really came into my life as a blessing. He upgraded my consciousness from that point forwards, that I am here on planet Earth to live into my true potential with that one opportunity that my brother never had. You know, that could have been me. I look at it as that's a 50-50 game. Could have been me just as easy as it was Jack. So I've got this one opportunity in my life to really upgrade the consciousness of more people, to live into their purpose, to really accelerate their transition to their upgraded life, and help us all live in a more connected, more conscious, more compassionate world. And so that's why purpose is so powerful. And to touch on that as well, I could talk about purpose a lot because it lights me up all of the time. And I know that you know this, Sarah, and it's similar with you. That's why we share this connection. For me, with purpose, there's the who are we doing it for? Right? Who are we doing it for? And I've always had my brother as that lever. I believe that my brother is looking down on me, and one day I will come back to meet him. And he will say, right, did you live into your true potential? So I know that I have got a duty to my brother and to my higher self, that calling within me. And I'll be honest, that's a hack that I've had throughout my childhood even. I always had that inspiring thought that my brother was there for me, right? And that I had someone outside of me who was counting on me. So think about it today. Who is counting on you? Is there someone from your past that maybe you could count upon as looking at you and being inspired by what you're doing on planet Earth? You know, we get one life. So why live a small life doing things that you hate, trading your time for money? When's the wake-up call going to come? You know, because for most people, it comes too late. Thankfully for me, I had it at 3 years old. And so I'm really grateful for the blessing that my brother gave me. And that was why he was due to come into I believe that's why he was here on planet Earth, was to raise my whole consciousness and help me live a better life in his name, you know? So what is it for us? And because this is so important with purpose, you're going to have times when you don't like the little minutiae of what you're doing. Yeah. So I have times when I have to analyze spreadsheets, or I have to manage my accounts right now. And it's like, I don't enjoy doing accounts. I don't enjoy doing spreadsheets, but what I do enjoy are the people who I serve, the reason why I'm doing it, and the way that I do it with excellence. And I commit to that excellence. So it could be the way that we do things. It doesn't have to be what. Everyone focuses on the what. They're like, I don't like what I'm doing. Maybe I should just quit this business. And no, you're not going to enjoy every single element of what you're doing, but you should enjoy who you're doing it for. You should enjoy why you're doing it, and you should enjoy how you're doing it. Be proud to show up with excellence. Be proud to over-deliver. Be proud to develop a product and service of such craft that it magnetizes people to your energy. And that's what it is for me. So in those times when I'm working those hard hours and everything, I'm just like, look, I'm committed to why I'm doing this, to who I'm doing it for, and to the way in which I'm doing it. And so that's another way as well, to just tap into our purpose. If people are starting a business and they're like, I don't know if this is for me, just go back to it. And the other thing, just finally, Sarah, now pass over to you, is just thinking about what is our experience to date, and how can we use our past, like I've just been talking about, how can we use our past as a reason for where we're going? Use that pain from the past as power, as fuel, turn that pain into power and purpose to drive us forwards. And that's really my big thing. And for me, the journey that I had in my career to date has all led me to this moment, because that's the perspective that I have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said about committing, because I actually spoke at an event last week, and it was a female founders event through Barclays Bank. And there was a lot of new businesses, and obviously there's a lot of challenge around when you start up, you have to do everything, and it's very stressful and feels like a lot of pressure. And I'm a strong believer in, if you commit, the rest will figure itself out. As long as when you commit, you do it with purpose and you do it with passion and love, I believe that the rest figures itself out. Look, honestly, if I think back to 2015 when I set up my first business, and even what I'm doing now, a lot of what I'm doing, I'm like, I've got no idea. You know, I have no idea what next year is going to look like. I don't understand. I know what I have to do. Do I understand how to do it yet? Maybe not. But I believe that as long as I commit and I stay committed and I align everything I do with that purpose, that the rest will figure itself out. And that's why it's so important to continue your education, continue your self-development, surround yourself with amazing people that are also committed. And together we get there. And it's not always easy. You know, some days you just want to hide under the duvet. and, you know,
Yeah.
give up, you know. But I think as long as, like you said, you can keep coming back to that purpose and you can stay at least committed. And that's what I say to people is, are you committed? And do you understand why you're doing this? Because I really do believe that as long as they are, the rest will figure itself out.
Love that. You're on point, Sarah, there. I think too many, unfortunately, the way we've been brought up to think in school is that we've got to know the how,
Yeah.
right? We've got to know the how. But the problem with
Yeah.
that is that, yeah, we have to figure out the how along the way. Otherwise, we're only going to explore what's in our capacity today. There's no growth unless you don't know the how. I don't know how I'm going to execute on a bunch of my goals, but what I do know is I will, because I'm committed. So if you have the will to do it, you have the purpose aligned, the universe will make a way for the person who pursues that purpose, that passion, and that energy to go out there and get it. And it's one of the biggest things that holds people back, unfortunately, is they're still waiting on the how. So if there's anyone here thinking, how do I start a business? How do I leave my job? How do I do? You're focusing on the wrong thing. First of all, you got to focus initially on your purpose, because once you know who you are, you can figure out, right, what environment do I want to create and do I want to be in? Because not everyone needs to be an entrepreneur for their own selves. There's great opportunity to go and work for somebody else who already has the vehicle that you can be a part of, and that you can feel empowered because you're still fulfilling your dreams and your purpose, your ambition within the part of a bigger picture. And so that's what I'd say to people is, don't let the how and just not knowing the how. The how's the easy part. The hardest part is actually the commitment and the decision to cut off all other options. That's what decision means. It's like cutting. Think of scissors. You're cutting off decision. It's an incision. You're cutting off all other options. And if you're thinking about, oh, I'll maybe start a business, but I might go back to my job if it doesn't work out, you've not made the decision yet, which means you haven't yet got the commitment. And which means that you're probably not going to find out how to create a business that's sustainable to get you out of that job, because in your mind, you've still got an exit clause. You've got to cut off and remove those other options. So I'm totally aligned with you there, Sarah.
And I think taking that back to business and sales is you know, even in the last week, I can think of a number of conversations I've had with managing directors, CEOs, where they're focusing on the how. So they're coming to me and saying things like, you know, how do we build a new sales strategy? How do we build more process in? How do we train our team? And, you know, going back to the nurse in me, I'm like, well, you're almost trying to do the surgery before you've done the MRI.
That's true.
I mean, or, you know, you're putting the treatment plan in place where we don't even know what's wrong yet. So let's go back to that root cause and figure out, you know, why do you want to do this? What do you want to achieve? And we'll figure out the how later on. But until we do that initial analysis on the business and on the people and figure out as individuals, what is their purpose? Are they driven? Are they coachable? Because you can have the best plan, you can have the best strategy, the best process in the world, but if you don't have the right people, it's not going to execute. You know, it's just not going to happen. And you're not going to get that why, you know, you're not going to figure it out. So I guess it's kind of a mirror image of what you're describing there for individuals, but businesses are really bad for this as well, where they focus on the how.
How to make money, yeah.
Exactly. And individual salespeople, you know, they get this target, this quota, and they're panicking on the how, where really if they commit and they know that what they're selling, they can be passionate about and they have a purpose and they understand why that is going to help somebody, why that's going to make somebody's life easier, more efficient, more productive, or even sometimes just more enjoyable. You know, totally. It's when the customer or the client could have a need or a want, and they're two very different things. So as long as they are super clear on that and they commit, the rest will figure itself out, as long as they have the right team and they build in all the other stuff that they need to build in.
Well, exactly. And just to emphasize the point, Sarah, you're really spot on, because to emphasize the point, the how is freely available. We've got the internet. The internet has all the how figured out for you. You don't need to figure out the how. The how is there. Information is free. It used to be held in the academic institutions. And this is the problem. People think that they have to find the how. They still have to go to school. They have to go to university. They have to go to a closed door institution to find the information. Well, the way that the internet's disrupted that is with decentralization. Information is now available to everybody wherever you are on the planet, apart from maybe China, who may limit some of the internet access that you have. But internet has brought information to the masses, which means that the how is no longer valuable. It's a commodity. It's readily available to every human being on planet Earth. So you better have a purpose if you want to pursue your actual inner potential. And with businesses, absolutely right. The challenge is that everyone's like chasing the money. How can I get money? How can I get money? But the problem with that whole mindset is that you're chasing the effect. That you're chasing the effect. You're chasing something which is created by something else. You've got to chase the ferocious addition of value and solving problems for other people. How about we focus our energy there, and the sales will take care of itself? You know, and when we ferociously solve a problem and we ask in fair exchange for what we give, that's a sale. But most people are just like, I need to get money. And so the energy is all wrong. The energy in the sale is not purposeful. And that's why purposeful sales is really so key in everything that we do. If there's no purpose, then the sale is for ourselves. But the point with sales is actually sales, real sustainable long-term sales. I'm talking about if you want to build a real business that's here for decades, not just for a few years and making a quick buck and then disappearing and making another one disappearing. Like a lot of, let me be honest, that's what a bunch of people do. And then they call themselves an entrepreneur and all the rest of it. And they can maybe plug a bit into marketing and get hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers and whatever. The point is, the sales has got to be for the customer. It's not for you. And so that was the flip in my mindset that I had was, okay, actually sales is a great thing. It suddenly gave me purpose. When Grant Cardone, he was the one who really, I invested heavily in terms of my time and my energy to learn his material. And what that taught me was that a sale and closing sales, you're not doing it for you. You're doing it to solve a problem and to serve the customer. And when we have that energy and when we know that we have to step up and really serve people and really step into that, and that sales is something that we do for others, through us for others, and that money is effectively an effect of the value we're putting out there and asking for fair exchange in return, that's when we start to actually generate a real business. And if we're just chasing the money, it's unsustainable. It's not going to be around for that much longer, especially as there's an uprising of human consciousness right now. And that's where I believe the world's going, is connecting far more to purpose, far more to answering the biggest questions like, why are we here? You know, what is it that humanity really needs right now? And that's where I feel that we're all going together.
Yeah. I think what you just said there as well about, you know, the purpose, selling with purpose. I think a lot of the time salespeople are not the leadership. So whether that's sales leadership, whether it's an executive board above that, are not good at voicing and communicating what the purpose of the business is. So we talk a lot about value proposition, but what I found is if you take a sales team of say 10, 20, 100, it doesn't really matter, for almost I would say like 99.9% of businesses in this world, you take that sales team and you say to them, right now, go into a room and send me a 1-minute video on what you think our value proposition is. You'll get 10 or 20 or 100 different responses. Mm. And that doesn't help serve the customer because the customer is confused. Okay. And it's all about that. Go back to basics, figure out what that root cause problem is. Yeah. And even if sometimes a salesperson is clear on their purpose, a lot of the time they're not clear on the company's purpose, which is a problem. So, you know, and they often don't call it purpose, you know, it's core values, it's value proposition, etc. Yeah. You know, business speak, but really it comes back to purpose, you know. And I think if a company can get really clear on their purpose at board level, while obviously engaging people throughout that organization and create something together instead of the CEO deciding what it is and everyone's got to memorize it and be able to, you know, recite it. You know, it's create it together. And by doing that, people will be really bought in, and it'll help them align what their purpose is with the purpose of the business, so that when they start selling, they really are doing it from a place of purpose.
Love it. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Totally. Well, it's got to be from the heart, and they've got to be aligned with the dreams of the dream of an organization. A leader effectively casts the net for the dreams of everybody else to be captured and uplifted within it. And if the leader's not got that vision, that foresight, and that purpose where they truly actually care about their people, because let's face it, I'll be honest with you, most organizations of the last 20 to 50 plus years, they didn't care about their people. They cared about one thing, and that was a profit. And the problem with those businesses, they're the ones that are now going out of business because they haven't innovated, they've not found a purpose, and they've got very caught towards their how they did things. But the problem, if you're caught to your how and not your why, is you don't innovate, you don't find a better way. So, for example, the taxi industry, right? They're caught up on their how. This is what we do. We rip, we make an inconvenience for customers, and we charge money, and we basically don't give any visibility towards what the taxi bill is going to be, and all of that. And that whole inconvenience was disrupted with Uber. And maybe Uber will be disrupted again with the likes of blockchain technology. Who knows? Cutting out the middleman and that sort of thing. But that's why all these businesses, they have to be ready to innovate and to disrupt. And then people become victims when they're caught in their how, because they're at that low level of consciousness where they're then a victim to the disruption that's happening around them. When they had the same opportunity. I mean, why didn't the taxi drivers innovate? Why was it Uber that came along and basically demolished them overnight? Why didn't they innovate themselves? And so I suppose that's the higher conscious place that we're now coming from. That's exciting, is that purpose is driving the biggest businesses of today. And what you said about the people of an organization is, I can't emphasize that enough. I've done projects in the past, just the last few years, where I didn't have a clue how I was going to do them. I mean, having 1,600 people show up for Grant Cardone's event in London as basically my first event, but I had to have the purpose. I didn't know how it was going to happen. I just committed. And so everything you've been saying, Sarah, it's so, so true that the right team will connect and will gravitate towards the right purpose.
And going back to something you said about 5 minutes ago about Google, everything is on Google. The how, the what is on Google. But we're really bad, again, I'm just going to throw another medical thing in there, but people self-diagnosing. So they go on Google and try and figure out what their issue is, and they try and self-diagnose.
Yeah.
And that's the same in business. You go and see the GP, you know what I mean? Go and see someone that's going to be able to help you. If you can't figure out what is the company's purpose, what is our purpose, what is my purpose, then go and talk to somebody that can help you find it. Don't wait the next 20 years stuck in that rat race. And as a business leader, don't wait for the next 10 years terrified that you're not going to hit the targets and you don't understand why. Go and see the GP, go and find somebody that is going to be able to help you, and they'll help you through the insight of others, through experience. And that was one of my biggest drivers about kicking off this podcast. The business I'm a director for, Ducaru, we have a podcast as well. But I've been on a very personal journey over the last 8 years in sales and as a business owner for the last 4. And I have learned so much from other people, by going to the GP, if you like, by finding those people around me in business. I have learned so much. And now I feel it's my time to give back and to serve others and talk to them about what I've learned, the challenges I've been through, and just be really open and honest about what works, what doesn't work, what I wish somebody had asked me 5, 6, 7 years ago. And also the great people like yourself that I've managed to meet along the way that have taught me something that I now want to share with a larger network. I think once you find your own purpose and you're working within that, then it's like, well, how can I give back? And I always find that people that are aligned with their purpose are much better at giving back. But I think it's just because they know how to, and because they're so passionate about how it's supported them in their own career, in their own life, that they want to share that with others.
Totally. Well, what you said, Sarah, is really, really powerful, because you explained the whole way that this podcast is effectively an expansion of your purpose, right? And that's the power of purpose. The power of purpose is it narrows our perception. So when we don't have purpose, we're basically like this. We're wandering around, we're not really focused. We're going after, oh, someone's got a shiny penny. Maybe I should look at that one. And then purpose, boom, you're focused. You'll never be focused without the purpose on the pursuit of what it is you truly love and that you truly have passion and drive and energy for. It's such a powerful message really for people to understand, is that that's the thing that gives us focus. That's the way that I can say no to a lot of things. There's a lot of opportunities that come when you start to pursue your purpose. But the other great thing is you have a decision filter. When you have a mission, when you have a decision filter, a purpose, you can say no to the things that fall outside of that realm. And that's effectively what you're saying, Sarah, is you want to now use this platform as an opportunity for you to help more people to tap into their own purpose and to discover those lessons that you've learned the hard way. And for anyone listening here as well today, if you also want to tap into the same thing Sarah's talking about, go back to your past. Think about all that expertise that you have. And the analogies that you've got, for example, around the medical space are so powerful for people because it's very relatable, right? Very relatable. And everyone has their own story, their own journey, which has led you to where you are today. What skills, attributes, expertise, people, what network have you built that could help maybe fill and fuel your purpose from this point forward today?
Yeah. And I guess when people come onto a sales focused podcast, they're going to be expecting, sales tips, sales strategies, and okay, yes, there's going to be some of that too. But for me, I want to do something different. And that's why I want to talk about things like purpose and how you maximize your potential and everything else that's much more personal to people. Isn't that how and that what that you can find on Google. It goes deeper than that. And some people will love it and some people will hate it, and that's absolutely fine. I'm happy with that. But yeah, so I'm just trying to think if there was anything else in our conversation at ClimbCon that we discussed that I think we're maybe missing, or I'm struggling. I think we've covered everything.
Yeah, well,
so much more, because since June last year, we have both grown so much as individuals.
Yeah, there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah. So tell us, Matt, what is next for you? And also, where can people follow the journey as well?
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. I think one thing I just wanted to talk about is around money and how, for me, because this ties into what's next for me. The thing with money is that there's too much bad energy associated with money. It's bad to make money. It's bad. Rich people are greedy. All these false nonsense beliefs that people have. Money is just that it's a tool. It's an effect of the value that you put out to the marketplace, So for me, I want to help empower people to really become responsible custodians of their money, responsible owners of assets that cash flow and provide value beyond ourselves, because that's how we generate cash flow. Is the value exchange is measured in cash flow. So for me, what's next for me is really money. For me, I want to help more people to understand the money message. I want to help more people to realize that money is not something that's for you. You need to have a purpose that's beyond yourself. So the way I see money is it's an effect that flows through me for others, because the money flows through me through the value I put out. And then I'm going to then use that money to serve good deeds to the world, whether it's through, through being a philanthropist later on in life, whether it's giving back to charity, whether it's buying from great businesses, whether it's reinvesting in growing my team and helping more people to expand their potential. Realize this, money is not, if you feel selfish energy around money right now, let's wash that out, because sales, you'll never generate at your sales capacity until you've removed that money block. And so for me, what's next is really getting to that next level, accelerating our transition to an upgraded life, helping more conscious entrepreneurs to build wealth, to understand the truth about money, and to really understand where the world's going, especially in an era of total disruption around money, especially around currency and the medium of exchange. I believe that that's going to totally change. I don't believe that fiat currency is necessarily going to be here for too long. So we have to be prepared for what's to come. And I know that we talked about this at ClimbCon last year, Sarah, too, is just, the power of purpose is it allows us to be awake and ready for the disruption that's coming ahead. So, if I can be of service to anyone in your community, I'm at Upgraded Investor on Instagram, or I'm at Matthew Soltys on LinkedIn, or Matt Soltys. You go search for me. at Thrive Assets, and love to know how I can be of value to anyone in your community. And with you, Sarah, I just love the energy that you bring every single day. You're so connected to your purpose. You're really lit up to inspire a lot more people. And so I'm super excited for where you're going. I know that we're working on a few projects together as well, which are really exciting too. And so I just want to flow you a lot of love and energy and passion and support for all that you do too.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I will put the links to your profiles in the show notes, Matt, as well. So if anybody can't find them, just have a wee look in there.
Amazing.
Yeah, I wish you all the best. Like, I think you're an awesome guy, and I can see great things ahead for you. And really excited, like I said, we've got a few things in the pipeline to work on together, and an amazing team around us for that as well. So yeah, really excited for what the next couple of months, next year is going to bring. So thank you so much for your time. I know that you're a busy guy. Thank you for taking the time to do this podcast with me.
Likewise, it's been a pleasure. It's been great fun.